My name is Wade the Trucker, and this is my 2013 F350 service truck that I got for cheap at auction. And in today's video, I'm going to be fixing, upfitting, and upgrading a few things on this truck. Now we've got a lot to do, so let's get into it. To start off, we're going to be doing a little bit of upfitting to this truck. While the body has a lot of storage space in it, I think a little bit more is necessary because I like to hard mount all of my socket rails and wrenches, but I also do not want to drill directly into the fiberglass body of this truck just because why put holes in something when you don't need to? And so I went on Facebook Marketplace and I found a pair of UWS 8-foot long bed boxes. Now, brand new, these bed boxes go for almost $900 a piece, but I got them used for $300 for the pair. And so I think it's about time we actually mount these. Ready?
Yep. Is that upside down?
It is upside down.
I thought so.
That's on purpose.
Ah.
Now to actually mount these, I have some 3/8 hardware, 4 bolts on either corner to actually bolt these down. We're going back now. So because I am drilling and mounting between two different surfaces, I want to keep it nice and waterproof. So what I did is the local hardware store didn't have specific rubber backed washers. So I took a regular washer and they had these little rubber washers. And then on top of that, I'm also going to smother the bolt itself with a little bit of RTV. So you see, having all the
That's
wrenches
awesome.
up there.
Yeah.
And then I have ratcheting wrenches. I have other lots of these for.
Right.
Like make use of every single like mounting surface on this.
Is it upside down, Wade?
It is upside down.
Is it supposed to be upside down?
It's supposed to be upside down. Yes. That's why I bought the struts that are too short. So that you could just
You just leave it open and all the tools come flying out.
yeah.
Yeah.
I'll drill 2 holes in the back here.
You're not going to be able to use that. You're not going to be able to use
This video
that,
is going to be 90% bloopers. You know that, right?
It's going to be rated R. Wade the Trucker.
You see that fiberglass?
I can't because I'm too short.
You don't want to breathe that in.
Asshole.
Do you want a microphone?
Oh, dude, yeah.
Yeah. Goop it up, dude. Goop it up.
Goop it. I like to goop it.
Ow!
Ow!
Werewolves of London.
Werewolves of London. Rock the boat. I ain't going anywhere.
Yeah.
You gotta say it.
I ain't
That's not
going
going
nowhere. Junior, there's no way.
No way
you come from my loins. When we get home, I'm punching your mama right in the mouth. We're gonna do the other side off camera.
Yeah.
And just like that, the bed boxes are on and attached to the truck. I know this portion of the video probably feels a little bit rushed. That's because I have people who need me to work on their vehicles and I need to get this particularly set up as soon as possible. I also have to immediately go to work, like right now. I'm not going to take care of it just yet, but when I go back to the regular shop, I can pick up all of my sockets, throw it in there, and put some more tool storage on the side. This worked out great. I used rivets with number 10 washers and some silicone, and that is holding on all of my wrench racks and also my socket rails. But future Wade, he's going to move on to the next upgrade. And now it's time to move on to our next upgrade. Although this truck might be considered a base model XL, it does have one added feature. It is considered an XL power package, meaning that I have door locks and a hood switch. This allows me to almost directly add a few things that otherwise wouldn't be on the truck, like fog lights and a remote start system. First off, I'm going to start with the fog lights. As you'll notice, I actually have two wiring harnesses here. These fog lights that you could get off Amazon for around $70 or $80 comes with this harness right here. It is not a factory style harness, but you could use it to put these fog lights in any truck. But I did buy the factory style harness so that I could actually use a factory style switch. And to start the installation of the fog lights, there are a few 13mm that need to be removed back here. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Now that this plate is off, I just have a few 8mm headed screws up in a few locations. Bingo! Now all that's left to do is to take the appropriately marked fog light and just put her in place. Now I'd say, minus the poor fitting plastic right here, I think that the truck will look good with both of these fog lights in place. Before I get too far ahead of myself, all I have to do over here is to put this bracket back in place. Electric ratchets, they're great. All I have to do next is put in the next fog light. And just like that, our new fog lights are in place. Now I do have to refilm this because my microphone did die, but there was 2 steps left in making the fog lights work. The first one is actually putting on the wiring harness. All you have to do is plug in the fog lamp and route the wire across. Because this is the power package, there is a plug on the front of this frame that the harness just plugs directly into, and it makes the fog lights work. Then from there, all you have to do is pop out this section right here and change out the headlight switch for the one with the fog lamp. Now all that we have to do to test this out is to turn on our headlights and pull out the switch. It's probably not going to show up too well on camera, but I think it looks pretty good. Next up is this right here. This is the antenna for a remote start system. And for only $60 to $70, depending on where you buy this from, you could add remote start to your truck directly. And this is another one of those features from the Power Equipment Group. Now if we come on the passenger side of the vehicle and drop down our glove box, right in here we'll have our TPMS module. And this is what we're going to use to hook up our remote start system. Now the remote start system is going to come with a harness, and it's going to plug into this little gray connector right here. Just like that. Now, however you want to route this, I routed it back, up. It does have these little tree trims, and there's a hole back here I attached it to on that end. And then I have the harness coming up this way. I'll take the remote start module, and there are 2 holes up here on 2 where this lines up, and I'll take some number 6 hardware and bolt it down. And now that this is up in place, I could just plug it in. Then from there, you need to get your keys cut. You could go to Ford and buy one of these keys, and they'll cut it straight for you, but the kit does come with 2 keys of its own. But in my case, Ford wouldn't cut them because they're non-OEM and they don't know what material they're made out of. Next up, you're going to have to program your keys. Hopefully you have both of your factory original keys, otherwise you're going to have Ford reprogram the new ones. But if you have both of your original keys, you could take your first 2, put them in the ignition, cycle, wait for 3 seconds give or take it out, take your second key, put it in place, ignition for 3 seconds, take it out, and then you'll take your new key that has the remote start button, put it in the ignition for 3 seconds, and then the lock should cycle. That will show that the key has been programmed. In my case, that programmed the PATS chip on this key But for some reason, even with the Ford original OEM key, it didn't program the buttons. So what I had to do is cycle the ignition 8 times and wait for the door locks to cycle. And then you go ahead and press a button on the fob, and that programs the key. Lastly, the final step to getting the remote start to work in this truck is to program the truck itself. You could either do this by using ForeScan on your own personal laptop or by bringing the truck to a dealer. If you want to program the truck yourself using ForeScan, I'll leave a link down below on how to do it. Now here comes the question. Wade, why does it look like you're re-recording this section? Well, honestly, it's because I am. I've had this remote start plugged in and ready for the past 2 months, but I was never able to get it to work consistently. After doing a little bit of research, I found out there's 3 reasons why the remote start wouldn't work in this truck. A is if one of the doors were open or the truck thought the door was open. The second reason is if the hood was open or the hood switch has gone bad. And the biggest reason, the third one, is because the check engine light was on. In which case, Past Wade's gonna go take care of that. And lastly, I have to do a little bit of maintenance to the truck. It does have a misfire, so I'm replacing the coils. I believe one of the coils is arcing out, so might as well do the entire set. Then, with 95,000 miles, it probably has never had a set of spark plugs in it. There's actually 16 spark plugs in a 6.2. As well, I am getting a code for a bad evap vent valve. So, let's get to it. Now, quite a few of you actually noticed that on the back of the truck, there's a giant CNG sticker on it. As well, where the fuel fill is, there's also a CNG fill port, because this truck is actually considered bi-fuel. It runs off of gasoline and CNG. And back in the early 2010s, the United States kind of had like a big push for CNG vehicles because compressed natural gas inherently runs cleaner. And at that point in time, compressed natural gas was incredibly cheap. So there were upfitters that would take factory vehicles like this and upfit them to run off of both gasoline and CNG. Unfortunately, currently, the price of CNG is more expensive than diesel. On top of that, it is less powerful than gasoline. So it's less efficient and more expensive. So I just run it off of gasoline. This is Editing Wade. I will correct myself real quick. It's less that CNG is more expensive than gasoline. It's just that gasoline and CNG cost around the same and gasoline is more efficient. So go ahead and call me an idiot, but that's something I didn't already know. I don't know why I did that. But now that I have my intake box off, I can fully expose all of my coil packs and my injectors, and also the CNG injectors. These are incredibly unique, and I need to make sure not to break them. These coil packs are just held on with an 8mm screw on the top. Before I break that off, probably should take the spark plug wire off, like so, and also the connector on the coil pack, which, if I remember correctly, these tend to like to break. There's a red tab in the very front of the clip. If I remember correctly, you want to push up on it, then you can pull back, yep, just like that, and then you can pull back on it, and then it comes off nice and easy. Just like that. Don't do it to me, don't do it to me, don't do it to me! Seal coil better not break. Speed and power, maybe? Nope. Maybe. Oh. Hey, I win. And the helicoil is still in place. Good. It was actually, the coil was split open, and the bolt is actually connected to the sleeve of the coil. This portion of the video is actually taking a lot longer than I expected, so I'm just gonna do a time lapse of this entire thing. I just got the very first spark plug out. This is the spark plug for cylinder number 1. The actual amount of electrodes still left on the spark plug doesn't seem to be much different than the brand new spark plug. But one thing that I will bring attention to is the amount of corrosion on the threads and the corrosion on the beginning of the spark plug definitely is not promoting good spark qualities. So swapping these out with fresh spark plugs is definitely going to make a huge difference in how this truck runs. And now for the second time this video, both my phone and microphones both died around the same time. What you missed is me saying that the truck had a code for a bad evap purge valve solenoid. And when these go faulty, basically the vehicle will idle roughly and sometimes have poor fuel economy, which this is a 6.2, is going to have that anyway. And unfortunately, because this truck is a cabin chassis with a utility bed on it, this entire setup was completely relocated where the purge valve was located about that close to the side of the frame. You need about that much room in order to get it out. So I had to drop the entire assembly. Now I was able to get a little bit of footage of that, and in that process I accidentally bent these top tabs that hold this entire assembly into place. So I had to go on Amazon and buy a brand new one. From there, all that I had to do was transfer all of the old charcoal canister stuff onto here, this little nozzle and the mounting hardware, and now all that I have to do is put it back up onto the truck. There are two lines that plug into the side of the charcoal canister. I'm going to get them in now because it'll probably be harder to do that once it goes into place. I'm always happy when things come back together a lot faster than how they came apart. I'm not joking when I tell you that in order to get this out, it probably took me around 2 hours. And now it's back together in about 15 minutes. Last step is to just plug in that purge valve. Done. Oh. And that brings us to the end of today's video. We added the toolboxes, the fog lamps, fixed the check engine light, and made the remote start work. There it goes. If it felt like this video was a bit on the back burner, it's because it was. I started recording this in February when it was 36 degrees out. Yesterday was July 3rd at 102. And even though this video was botched and I had to re-record 3 different things, I hope that you really enjoyed or learned something in this video. At the end of the day, thank you so much for watching. I'll see you on the next time. Peace. On the next time. Got it. We checked the fix engine light. Okay. Added the fog lights and remote start, which, excuse me, and remote start system, which works. Now I can shut it off. Now I can shut it off. Thank you. I like to goon it.
Hey, we can't put that in there, you son of a gun.
Oh well. Womp womp. Did you just say womp womp?